Hi everyone. We'll be speaking a little bit today about how you can actually increase your revenues from ad mediation by automating it, and how you can build your business to the next century of ad changes. And we'll speak a little bit about what's happening also in the industry. So let's start. My name is Shalom Michaeli. I'm the managing director of Digital Turbine here in EMEA, based in London. In the industry for around 10 years. Started back then with Interactive. We built a mobile exchange acquired by Fyber. Then we built a mediation that is based on the exchange, and now we are with DT. So what's happening in the mobile space? In order for us to understand how we grow revenues, we need a little bit to understand what's happening in the market from the macro point of view. As you can see in the industry in the past decade, if you've been here around, you saw that there were so many companies joining the industry the previous decade, basically 10 years ago. Many companies that popped up like mushrooms after the rain. And this is what we see actually now. We see the consolidations of all those companies. And that's good for our business, right? The industry matures, the entry barriers are growing, and the industry grows up as a whole. But if we need to quantify it a little bit, what does it mean? There are two verticals of consolidation that we have seen. There is a horizontal consolidation and the vertical consolidation. On the horizontal consolidation, what we see is app developers and gaming studios going and acquiring other game developers and studios from other genres and categories. And that's good because it increases the diversification. Diversification is important because, as we know, the gaming business is driven by a hit gaming business, right? If your application today or a category is a hit, it doesn't mean that it's going to stay that way. So it's important for you to have other categories under your portfolio. In addition to that, it increases the amount of data that you can have, amount the data points that gives you the ability to understand the users from a broader point of view. And lastly, which may be the most important, is the gaming innovation. Think about the fact that it's harder and harder and harder to release good, strong applications and eventually get them to the top charts. So what does it mean? Because the competitors are getting, especially in this crowded market, competitors are creating lookalikes, cloning your applications, and riding your equity wave, getting your business. So diversifying properly is extremely important. And if you diversify correctly, then it's easier for you to cross-pollinate successful ideas from one game genre to another. That's important. So that's on the horizontal side. On the vertical side, what we see is ad tech companies going by other ad tech companies, mediation companies, and other gaming studio, attribution studios and companies. And that's good because from one hand, we said that it matures our industry, right? But from another hand, it's a little bit scary if I'm an app developer that holds a studio and I'm working with a mediation that is actually holding a studio that's competing with my exactly business. So is that conflicting? Is that contradicting? Probably yes. So how in this business of so many challenges, of this world of so many challenges, how do we cope? But challenges are not over there. There's challenges on the privacy side, right? We have seen what happens with iOS 14. Google will introducing their privacy changes right now. What's happening with those privacy changes? There are basically less and less data points that are available for advertisers. If advertisers getting less and less signals, how they can continue building to actually accommodate future growth on the publisher side, on the advertiser side? How can publishers continue developing their business if advertisers need constantly to change their user acquisition or advertising strategies? If they are changing the strategies, then it impacts both ways. So basically the solution over here is not buying users, but buying audiences, creating audience segmentation, understanding audiences well enough in order to create those packages, and by creating publishers and advertisers closely together, creating user segmentations, and which is a key basically to drive higher prices, we're enabled to wrap it all through bidding. That's the future of the mediation. Publishers, advertisers, user segmentation, and it all runs through bidding via user segmentation that generates higher prices. And the last challenge is also, waterfall is dying. Let's be very, 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 very honest. Waterfall is dying. It's harder and harder and harder to create those CPMs, calculate them, prioritize them. It's not very simple, as we all know. And we see networks like Meta that is moving completely into bidding. Other networks are following up. And it's still periodically that we see waterfalls in our business. We will move to bidding completely, and the move to bidding will be accompanied with less data and more basically user segmentation. However, not everything is very, very grim, right? If we think about what happened to the industry, despite of those challenges that we had, less data available, privacy changes, epidemic, we still see that in 2021 we had 2 million new applications joined to the app stores. 2 million new applications. That means 5,500 applications at the average a day. 5,500 applications join the app stores a day. The industry is growing, continues to evolve. Out of those 2 million applications, 233 apps generated more than $100 million. So there's a friction of applications that holds so much revenue, so much money. And the cherry on top of it is that the industry grows from the advertising spend as well. We see 23% increase year over year in terms of advertising spend. And this year alone, we will see $350 billion moving into mobile in-app. So that's good. That definitely keeps most of us optimistic, $350 billion, right? So summarizing those challenges, we spoke about fewer monetization partners that you can actually trust. Publishers asking themselves, okay, so what? So what that there is a studio that is contradicting? How can I find a platform that I can trust, but also will give me the same strong results? So that's question number one. Second, okay, we know that there is data that is shrinking. What we can do with this data is building audience segmentations. And lastly is what happens from the mediation point of view. We will not be running waterfalls anymore. Everything will be conducted via bidding. So how can we solve it? Fairbid. Fairbid is our mediation. It's our mediation tool that is built solely from inside out as an infrastructure on bidding. It's built on programmatic. That's how we build it. When you think about mediation, there are three layers that usually pop up in your head. You think about user, about account management and overload. You think about latency, and you think about advertising mix. If we think about this, subconsciously jumps to everyone that is running a mediation. If you think about reduced manual optimization overhead, and those calculations of CPMs are taking a lot of your time. They're taking a huge amount of time. Imagine a world when account managers and monetization managers are not calculating CPM per country, per OS, and adjusting it in a way that manage to buy another and generate another dollar from each and every waterfall. Imagine a world that account managers and monetization managers are working with the leading advertising companies, and they're creating audience segmentations. And with these audience segmentations, they manage to drive higher prices in scale proactively. This is changing completely different on how account managers and people are managing mediations. Instead of reactive approach to a proactive approach. Speaking about latency, latency is there, has always been there. And unless you think about creating some kind of new technology, new startup of precognition, then the next available thing and the best thing is actually moving to bidding. Reduces the latency, increases user experience, increases revenues, less partners that you need to wait for their response. This is definitely the solution of bidding. And lastly is advertising mix. When we speak with publishers and ask them, what do you need in terms of your advertisements? All of them say one thing: we need more brand demand. And that's obvious. Nobody wants to continue promoting competitors' applications. Nobody wants to continue seeing churns. We all want to see additional demand that users are happy to engage with. And we have acquired AdColony, that is one of the leading brand networks out there. And that enables us to bring and create an effective marketplace. Marketplace that doesn't necessarily consist of only specific type of buyers, but variety of buyers, performance buyers, brand buyers. That enables to, and this is when you need to trust the mediation, when you need to think about mediation, you need to ask yourself, who can I integrate that will give me more with less? Should I go and integrate so many SDKs, one after another, and create SDK bloat, or I will go and integrate some of them and get more demand? Those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. So we are integrated with all the biggest networks out there on the bidding side. All of them are available. The ones that are still on the waterfall side already doing a lot of changes and adjustments, and we're supporting them very heavily in order to transition them to bidding very soon. I can share that the biggest ones are already in this phase of movement. In addition to that, we operate a marketplace that consists of 180 DSPs. That's additional layer of programmatic approach of brands and performance. And this is how effective the marketplace is operated, by having DSPs, networks, and SDK bidders. One of the things that, forgot to mention, one of the things that some of the account managers and publishing studios do over here is actually run a hybrid mediation. And hybrid mediation, as we all know, it's not sustainable, because what's hybrid mediation is connecting an application to your bidding networks and waterfall networks that predominantly operate very well. Nice in the short term, you still have an overload. You still have a solution in which your account managers are running and optimizing waterfalls. Not very much efficient. So, mediation that solves the challenges. As we said, different challenges, and one of them is about trust. We are 10 years over here in the business. Build programmatically, build mediation. We know exactly how to operate an environment of mediation and bidding. We have created a very strong, transparent business. Transparency is not about only saying that you are transparent. It's what kind of tools you provide to your clients. Transparency is about what kind of information you give. Information like auction audit. We enable the publisher to see in each and every instance, each and every impression, the bidders that were participating in the same auction, how much they paid, if they won, if they lost, how and why they won and lost. This information is extremely important, because this data is publisher's data. It shouldn't be going to another company that is using it for their studio. It should be yours, and you should have this information in order to buy better users, not to subsidize somebody else. Differentiated reach. So with Digital Turbine, we are holding 800 million devices. We are adding 60 million devices every quarter. By the end of this year, we will have 1 billion devices. And that's another layer, that's another approach to do user acquisition differently, in a different way. When we speak about tools, so our multi-testing solution is enabling publishers to run tests in a much smoother and automated way. You can compare bidders to non-bidders. You can run refresh rates on banners and check them. You can check different ads in different countries, rewarded interstitials, and see the results. Compare them with yourself. Very easy and simple to understand the reporting. What are the metrics, and act upon them. The A/B test is very advanced and very granular, and enables publishers to get very deep insights. But one of the most important things is the latency report. As we know, when we spoke about latency and we spoke about transparency, what do we mean? We mean that the latency report enables you to see exactly who are the networks that are creating bottlenecks. This is the only latency report that is available as a mediation side in the industry. You can see who are the bottlenecks, you can adjust them, you can play with them, you can change the prices and track the performance. The performance improving? Do you see increases in retention? Do you see decreases with churn? Do you see user experience? Do you see revenues growth, right? But the bottom line? So this is very available over here. So, Digital Turbine, so Fyber is part of Digital Turbine. Digital Turbine acquired Fyber last year alongside with AdColony and Appreciate. We operate one of the largest mobile independent, and independent is very important, growth platforms. We're not taking the data, we're not using or abusing the data. We provide a strong partnership with knowledge that the publisher can sleep tight at night without thinking that the data will be abused. On the monetization side, we operate the marketplace, the Fyber, the offer wall. On the user acquisition side, we run user acquisition on pre-install and also programmatically. That's general for today. I would like definitely for you to take out of this presentation is the fact that the industry is changing. You can't continue running and operating your business in the same way as you did last year. The industry changes. There is more competition, there's less players out there. You have to choose properly who are you working with. You have to trust your partners. The second thing that you have to understand is that data is changing. You can't continue running data and expect growth when data is eliminated over there. Fyber is built for bidding. This is what will happen in the industry. Bidding will be the majority. Already today, we see 50% on some publishers of revenues coming from bidders only. In some publishers, not all of them, but 50% coming from bidders. And that will only go and increase, especially when the biggest networks are joining. and some of them are already there. And lastly, Digital Turbine today can enable you to get all of it in one place. If you have the vision of bringing the user acquisitions and the monetization in one place, this is what we can help with. So if you have any questions, and I hope I was on time, you asked me to do it in 20 minutes, and I have 5 minutes for Q&A. We can ask questions here, and we are also on G5, so you can reach out, and we'll be happy to answer any question.